the thoracic oncology nurse navigator for the Baptist Health System out of San Antonio. So I think what inspired me was just as a nurse, I became more familiar with oncology patients working kind of in the hospital and in the different roles that I took. I became OCN certified in 2014. So I've been an RN since 2009. I got my OCN certification in 2014 and I started working outpatient infusion. As you know, lung cancer is one of the most prevalent cancers that our community faces. So lots of lung cancer patients. And they're kind of just a unique breed. So I don't know, they speak to my soul and I hope I can help them along the way. I just kind of, it's my calling. It's definitely where I find my passion is I find there's never something dull about it. And I always find new rocks to turn over and try to find ways to fix things and improve things. And I've been a nurse navigator since 2021, but I think kind of as an oncology nurse in the infusion setting, the outpatient setting, kind of just how the world works, you're kind of a navigator from the moment that they decide to put you in a chemo room and say, here, talk to these patients, fix these problems. Just the patients. Every patient's journey is unique, and I think every patient's situation is unique, and so there's never a dull moment with figuring out either different pathways to get things done and taken care of, or different resources to help facilitate problems they're facing, or just never a dull moment. And oncology itself is always changing, which I think has always kind of drawn me in as a nurse anyway, because it's never you figure it out and then you keep doing that same thing for 10 years. It's you figure it out and then 2 weeks later they've changed the protocol and you got to learn it a different way and learn how to explain it. And there's always the reasons why and the how comes and the I don't know, we did some more research and we figured out that this was better. So it's the ever-changing process, but ever-evolving process. And the goal is always to find the better answer to do the most good and cause the least amount of harm. So many. I genuinely think every day is an impactful moment, because I think in this world, especially with the landscape in which I get to be a nurse, I get to see and talk with people when they're in their moments of the most fear that they have faced kind of in a real space, with their humanity, I guess is the best way to say that. They're facing their mortality and they're terrified and they don't know the specifics. And I get to be the person that says, hey, I know that this is scary, but let's hold on to this hope. Let's focus on this thing that we can fix. Let's, whether that's we've got a treatment plan and we can tackle it together and we can hopefully get on the other side of this, and you get to look back at this in a year and say, that was horrible, but look what I got through. Or is this something that we don't have a good answer for? And I get to be the one that says it's okay to not fight this fight, because your pathway is ultimately to decide what your time is and where your quality is going to be spent. So if that's with your family, if that's on some trip you want to take, if that's whatever, I want to be your partner that gets to be your silver lining that says, okay, don't fall down the dark hole, because this is scary and this is not what you anticipated, but it doesn't have to be this horrible, horrible thing. Sometimes gets to be something beautiful in its moment of darkness. I think just access in general, helping them understand their pathway. Sometimes there's a good pathway and it's easy. Sometimes their primary care doctor knows that. Sometimes their specialist knows that. Sometimes it's me waving a flag going, hey, I got a better pathway. It's going to be faster. It's going to be easier. It's going to be paid for. It's going to be X, Y, and Z. Sometimes it's just helping them to understand what their diagnosis actually is. Doctors talk doctor language. Health systems talk health system language. I get to be the nurse that talks this is the real deal. This is the human aspect of this. This is the black and white. So I think that I think that that's what kind of keeps me going, is that every day that gets to be part of my job and I don't have to work when it comes to that. So it's definitely been a lifelong fulfilling space as a nurse. Don't put your head in the sand and don't pretend like it's not happening, because the greatest asset that we have on our side is time. So the faster we can get you to the pathway steps that you need to get to, the easier we're going to have to treat things. And I find that a lot of times In lung cancer especially, there's kind of that scarlet letter of, oh, I did this to myself, or, oh, you know, I deserve this because I chose to smoke 2 packs a day for 50 years and they told me it was bad, but I chose not to stop. Or, you know, there's always the negative connotation that can be associated with it. There's no need to hold on to that. Nobody deserves cancer. Nobody wants to find cancer. Nobody needs to do this alone. None of that. So you're not alone. Don't stick your head in the sand. It may not be as bad as you're thinking it's going to be. Cancer has changed exponentially in the way that we treat it and the goals that we have surrounding it, especially in the last 10 years with lung cancer, with all cancers really, but especially with lung cancer. We have targeted therapies. We have treatments that aren't chemotherapies, they're immunotherapies. We have ablation techniques. We have surgical techniques. We have robots. We have all of these things and tools at our disposal that if we can get to it sooner and treat it quicker, we're going to have a lot easier time giving you options to get to it. And I think just, it is what it is. It's cancer, and we're not going to do this by ourselves anymore. We're not going to pretend like it's a sign my check and turn me over, I'm done, because it's not worth the giving up yet. I don't think anybody's story is supposed to just end with, oh, you got diagnosed with cancer, so we're going to quit. So I know I look younger than I am to most people, but I started as a nurse really young, and the best advice I ever got was when I was a nurse extern on the floor, and the nurses looked at me and they said, you cannot be a good nurse if you do not put your time in and start from the bottom up. So that means learning what the CNAs do, learning what the people on the floor do, learning how to manage your time, learning how to recognize the horses before the zebras, and then kind of understanding that you as a nurse, no matter where you're at in that patient's journey, you are affecting them. So ensuring that you are arming yourself with as much experience and knowledge and just time in that space to understand truly, okay, I may not have any firsthand knowledge of what this patient feels like, but if I can't do anything to help them in that space, I can at least quiet their fears by explaining to them, okay, this is what's going to happen next. This is why this is going to happen. And kind of the details that surround all of the unknowns helps a patient walk from step A to step B to step C. And they do it a whole lot easier if we, especially as the nurses, can help communicate that in a way that is, you know, as education forward and unbiased as we can. It's our job to advocate for the patient, to educate the patient, to support the patient. We're the glue. So I think in order to be the glue, you have to kind of know what you're gluing together. And you can't do that just jumping out of nursing school and being like, I'm going to be a nurse navigator. Okay, well, hold your horses. Like, get some experience, get some time. And I talk to nurses all the time. They're like, I want to be a nurse navigator. I'm like, how long have you been a nurse? A year? I'm like, let's get some time on the books. So there's a lot of different spaces to all of this, and it's important to understand that yes, we're millennials. Yes, we would like to be at the top of the totem pole because we were told that that's the only place that makes us valid. But putting in the work and doing it the long way, you're in it for the long run. You're in it for a career. You're not in it for immediate gratification. And cancer is one of those spaces, especially. I think that it's always changing, so you don't get bored. I put my time in inpatient. I did floor, surgical, oncology. I've done pre-op PACU. I've done ICU. I've done ER. I've done kind of all the sides and corners of it. And then I went outpatient and I did the infusion. I did the radiation. I did the leadership side. I did the help revamp things, help understand what indigent care programs are, help kind of see it from communities that have good health insurance and have good financial settings and communities that don't. So kind of understanding that you're never going to see a cookie cutter patient walk through with a cancer situation. It's kind of what navigation's nuts and bolts are. It's understanding that every patient is a new project and you're the glue that's going to hold it together and make it or break it. So I am definitely a serve everybody else before I serve myself type personality. But I think just recognizing that I am human and there are things that get to us. We're taught in nursing school, show no emotion, show, be completely unbiased and have no personal thought or integration or anything because you're going to harm the patient. I have found in the last 16, 17 years of doing this that at the end of the day, you being able to show up in a room as a human and look a patient in the eye, and if you're getting teary-eyed, then they can validate that this is not fun. I don't want to do this. This isn't what I want to do and be. Accepting that that's part of the journey and that's part of the role, and not trying to like shove that down and make that something that doesn't exist. I think I'm in that space of accepting and kind of trying to teach others around me that it's okay to bring your humanistic side to medicine. It is science, but it's not all numbers and Excel sheets and lab values and imaging reports. These are still people, and this isn't a conveyor belt. It's not these are people that need us to be people with them. And part of being a person is showing emotion and having emotion, not being the overly emotional, but definitely being the genuine human that shows up. So honesty with the emotional side of it, I think, is what I'm doing to not be a closed off navigator. I think that oncology care is so complex and it is so multifaceted that if we don't leverage technology to advantage us as providers, we are doing a major disservice to our patients. I think that if the financial institutions and the education institutions can implement technology to make them better, there's no reason why we can't implement technology to make patient care better. It's never going to replace the human touch aspect. Computer system's never going to be able to call a patient and say, I hear you and I see you and you're not alone and we're going to get through this. And whether it's the outcome you want, a computer and an AI system, that's never going to be able to take away that humanistic touch. But it is going to make it possible for that nurse to not have to comb through unending charts to try to find that one person that she needs to call. If she can start her day at 8 a.m. and have that just kind of sitting in a queue staring at her saying, hey, call this one. It looks like they need more help than the other ones right now. It makes our jobs that much easier and that much more effective. It gives us the time back for the things that if we can automate it, it's only for assistance purposes. It's only going to make us better. So I am all for it. Thank you. I appreciate Azra's help and support through our needs and things with patient care. So it's only made our lives easier, and I appreciate it. I can't do me if I don't have tools to do it. And I appreciate Azra for everything it's done to help support us be better nurse navigators.